What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and hey guys, listen, if you're searching on the interwebs for another movie-related podcast where you just want to have just some audio noise just going into your ears, talking about the most favorite thing in the world that you admire, which is movies and movie news and trailers and reviews, and you come to the right place. And if you've never listened to Reel Me In before, hopefully we didn't scare you off, and maybe you can just kind of relax a little bit and, you know, get to know us and get to love us in the end and come back the following week. So if you are new to the show, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. But if you are new, what we typically do is we'll go over some movie news and some movie trailers that drop throughout the week and commentate on them for you guys. Then we will have a review or reviews of movies that drop on said weekend that we do the show and box office results to accompany it. This is episode 250. We did it. We're halfway there to 300. Crazy. And the movie in question, the movie on trial that we're going to be reviewing together is First Man, the Neil Armstrong picture, you know, depicting the events leading up to the Apollo mission that eventually landed him on the moon as first man to step his foot on it and say the famous line, and of course not show the flag puncturing the moon because, you know, it's un-American, right? Anyways, that's what we're going to be doing, and of course Joel's going to have a surprise review that he's going to throw at you guys. But yeah, before I throw it over to Joel, if you guys could, you know, like this podcast, share it, subscribe, do what you got to do to spread it around and let people know this is the definitive movie podcast online. You should go nowhere else because, you know, Joel's better than anyone else on the internet, and I know you guys come here for him, and so please let people know that there's a smart person and an average person on this show, and I know people will love Joel if they're new. So speaking of the Joel, what's going on over there, and how are we doing this week? You know, it's in the middle of October here in Texas, so the temperatures are starting to go down. We're starting to get into that fall mood, and you know, it's getting to that time. You know, Oscars are coming around the corner. You know, Oscar caliber movies. So, what's going on in the Joel's world?
Yeah, it's insane that it's already mid October. I was about to say it's crazy that it's mid August, because that's where I am still. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I think tomorrow is like a high of 47 here, which definitely means cold fronts are coming. A bunch of snow apparently is happening this week in some parts of Texas and Oklahoma, is from what I'm hearing. Now, of course, that could change easily because Texas is the state of seven seasons. But it's been pretty fun. Not a whole lot happened this week. I'm trying to think. Did anything significant happen to me? Not really. My grandparents canceled their trip, so they're not coming anymore. I think I mentioned that they're coming soon, but some stuff delayed it, so they're coming in December instead. Other than that, just chilling at work. How about you? I know that you have a bunch going on recently.
Oh yeah, I'm still in the process of moving, and it's really weird because Joel has been over to my apartment before, and Joel, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you because no one has no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm just gonna paint a picture for you. I'm just gonna throw these rapid fire at you, and I want you to just picture me sitting in the current room that I'm in right now. So my nightstands are gone, my TV's gone, both of my lamps are gone, the brown couch is gone, the table and chairs in the living room are gone. I've already moved half of my stuff over to my girlfriend's house, and that's about it. So it's pretty just kind of like spread out everywhere. Where just like I'm recording this semi in the dark, but I didn't realize I had a light in my closet, so I have that turned on, and so there's a light coming from my closet, and I'm just recording in this dark, almost empty room in my my apartment, so I look super non-creepy if people walk past my window right now. But yeah, that's what's been going on. And of course, I saw First Man on Tuesday and trying to squeeze in all these screenings, and I got several more, had to turn down because I'm just like, I really don't want to bog myself down with all these screenings and whatnot while I'm still doing all this stuff. But yeah, it's that's my life for like the next 2 weeks. It's just it's gonna get super super crazy. But I still like to do this stuff for you guys because even in the midst of like our busy lives, Joel and I can always find time to just shoot the crap and just talk about movies. Like, that's just what we like to do. So, Joel, without any further ado, would you like to kick us off with some movie news that's, I would say, interesting, but also ones that kind of sucker punched you in the face and you have no idea how to react to it?
Yeah, except for this first one. This first one is the most obvious thing that's ever happened in the entire history of the world, as I put it in my notes to Chase this week. Of course, Ryan Coogler is back. He's directing Black Panther 2 after breaking box office records with the first movie and doing a really impressive job with it. And it just makes sense. He's proven himself as a vital voice, and Marvel needs a director of color on their roster. So I'm glad that they didn't try to replace him with anyone. It's the thing that makes sense. And anyway, I'm going to delete any comments that say, but how can he come back? Because we all know that he's coming back. But no, it totally makes sense. And I'm excited. I like Coogler as a director a lot. I know that you were not as enthusiastic about this movie as a lot of people have been this year, but are you a fan of them just kind of sticking with the guy that they went with the first time around?
Yeah, I'm still a huge fan of Coogler, and I'll watch anything that he does. And it's just one of those weird things to where I love this universe, but I can also acknowledge when you have like an Avengers Infinity War or like a Captain America Civil War, and then you have, or like a Thor Ragnarok, and then you have like a Black Panther or Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's like, these aren't bad movies. They're solid movies, and I give them like B's. It's just, some of them kind of exceed expectations in this genre, and they do something so different and so unique and just so on the ball with it, that when you have these kind of, I don't want to say subpar, but just kind of like a little, a couple notches down, you go, I like it, but it's not as, this. And I don't know. It's a good movie. I've seen it twice. But what I do like is the world building within that movie. I like Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, and I just love that whole universe of Wakanda. So if you can get Coogler to come back and do it, then you are making a lot of sense to me. And it's one of those things to where I didn't think Coogler would come back, not because he doesn't like the subject matter or the character. I thought he just wouldn't come back because he wants to do other stuff. But money talks, and I'm pretty sure if Disney comes at him with a pretty good price tag, he could take that money and essentially churn out some more like, kind of smaller indie stuff like a Fruitvale Station. So there's always hope like that. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win to keep the visual continuity of the first one for Disney. And then for us, we get to see not only Coogler come back, but possibly take his gigantic paycheck and maybe turn it into some more smaller films and stuff. Because he is the type of guy that has this passion to do these kind of smaller indie films. So, like I said, it's a win-win all around, but I'm curious to see what he does in the next installment.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to tell Marvel, don't skimp out on a great villain for this one after...
Oh, please not.
Yeah, because they hit the jackpot on the first one. And Michael B. Jordan was great, and the character of Killmonger was great.
Yeah, I love Killmonger, but unfortunately, if you guys have seen the movie, you know what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. But still, it's a great villain, and I think that they need to not just rest easy on that momentum. I think that they need to still put all of their work in to make it as good as they can. Make the villain as if not as good as Killmonger. Don't skimp out on a great one. So Our next bit of news is similar, but also kind of in a, if not a 180, like I guess a 120 or something from the Marvel news, and that is that Gavin O'Connor, because of a scheduling conflict with Birds of Prey, I think that's what I read, has dropped out of Suicide Squad 2, and this is where the story gets a little wacky. They have gone, they are in talks to hire on James Gunn to this project. Of course, Gunn has just kind of escaped from Marvel's, or well, Disney's grasp following the Twitterversy, after his tweets were uncovered and all of that went down earlier this year, and he was fired from Guardians 3. They're in early talks with him to develop this project. Now, I think that this is a pretty good pairing of director and material, because he obviously is coming off of a series with a bunch of quarreling misfits at the center of his movie, and they're kind of different in Suicide Squad 2 because they're all villains, but I think that generally speaking, it's kind of the same rhythm. So I think that it's still this, big ensemble kind of semi-comedy, if they're going to make it that. Now, because of that, this is where it gets downright funny to me. Jared Leto has said that he's not going to be a part of this anymore. Of course, he's the one who plays the Joker, so they're going to have to find a new Joker. My suggestion is they just port Joaquin Phoenix right over there into his slot, into Leto's spot as the character after playing him in the one-off of the Joker next year, or Joker, whatever it's called. That's my feeling. I mean, I know that they're not going to do that. They're going to want to get somebody else in there, fresh blood, but you already have an actor in this role. You might as well just put him in that, and then, maybe that's the only time they use him, because really right now I feel like DC needs to reevaluate all of their stuff. So if that includes, casting the Joker or putting the actor that they've already cast as the Joker in the connected universe, then do that if he's okay with it. So yeah, it's interesting how this is all coming about. It just shows, this at least shows, I think, how much more confidence Marvel generally has in its projects than DC does, because of all of the reshooting, all of that nonsense. You don't hear about this degree of conflict in a Marvel film. And so yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Are you in favor of Gunn taking this over? Do you care at all about Leto leaving? And what do you think about all this?
See, this is the one where when I heard about it, it just kind of hits you in the face and you go, I don't know how to respond to this, because let's just make something clear. This is a humongous middle finger from Warner Brothers to Disney. Shots were fired, huge middle finger, so that's out of the way. As far as is he the right pick? Yeah, he is. Like, if you look at Guardians, it's basically, like you said, like the same rhythm as like a Suicide Squad. It's a bunch of misfits doing a job, and that's pretty much what it is. When Suicide Squad came out, I still don't like that movie, by the way. And even me as a fan of like Man of Steel and BVS, Justice League is whatever, and I like Wonder Woman for the first 2/3 of it. Suicide Squad, I do not like. I've seen it multiple times to where I just don't care to see anything advance from that movie into potential sequels or crossing over into other movies. I just don't care. But you throw a James Gunn in there, yeah, you got me. I'm suckered in now. If he's able to, even if worst case scenario, if something happens to where he can't even direct it, at the bare minimum, I would want him to write it because I would want that kind of like snappy James Gunn dialogue coming out of these characters. I would also want to see what kind of story he would do, and not have, what was it? The thing blasting a laser beam out of its butt into the sky. I forgot what it was, but maybe he can do a more creative story and have more character depth to it. I know that they had the bar scene in the first one, but that felt more of like an inconvenience rather than actual growth. To where, like, when you look at Guardians 2, you have this really meaty, dramatic core in the middle of everything that's going on in terms of action and visual scope. So if he can adapt that to a Suicide Squad 2, then it's going to be a home run. And so I'm looking forward to it now. I wasn't at first, but if you're going to get Gunn to do this, once again, a middle finger, but a good middle finger. I'm okay with this. I really want to see this. So my anticipation level for this movie has risen. In terms of you suggesting Joaquin to come over, I didn't even think about that. Because what they want to do with the Joker movie, they just kind of want to do this one-off thing and just call it a day. But you know what? I think that's going to be tough, though. Because if the Joker is going to be something that just kind of blows our minds, I kind of don't want him in, like, another DC movie. I kind of just want it to be its own little thing and just be done with it. So I'm actually in favor of just recasting altogether. Jared Leto's not going to do it. I don't know what the beef is between them. Apparently they have beef. I guess Jared Leto, or I guess James Gunn accidentally stepped on his shoe as he walked by or something. He's had a grudge for 37 years. I have no clue. But I would rather recast, to be honest with you, because whatever Joaquin Phoenix is going to deliver, it's going to be something special to where I would want to keep it in that Joker bubble and not expand outwards, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of my whole thought process around it.
Interesting. I guess I agree with that. I just feel like going through all of the thing again to try to find an actor.
Yeah, trust me.
It generally goes wrong
that.
because Jack Nicholson was never really the same after playing him. He always kind of played the same character after that point, or at least his characters with the same rhythm. After playing the Joker, there was always a piece of the Joker in his performances to me. And then you have Heath Ledger, and that obviously went horribly awry, his preparation for that role. And then now Jared Leto sexually harassing his cast members with used anal beads and condoms and all that, just going way too far into the method performance part of it. And, I don't know what kind of effect playing the Joker has had on Joaquin, if there has been any, but this character is notable or is notorious for having that kind of effect. It just starts to mess with your head if you let it. And so I think, they had given it to two method actors. I don't think that Jack Nicholson's a method actor, but anyway, Joaquin's a pretty intense individual. So I feel like I just feel like it's a dangerous role to give to someone. And so that's why I was saying, like, maybe they should just go with the actor that they have right now. But you're right. I mean, it would then kind of put him in the context of a series rather than just this one-off. So it's kind of a weird thing. But in any case, we're pretty much in agreement on this. As for being, like, suddenly excited for Suicide Squad 2, I can't say that I am, just because the first one was such a slog, and I just don't like the idea of following these characters again, no matter who the director is. Because I am always of the belief, and I don't know, maybe this goes against what you know about me, but I'm always of the belief that simple directorial involvement is not what makes a movie. It's the effort that's put into it. I can be excited for something, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. And after such a slog of a first movie, just changing the director to James Gunn, I think that the first movie was much more of a much more than a director problem. I think that there were massive fundamental failures in the screenplay and in the storytelling and in all of it, and it wasn't just David Ayer. And so anyway, there were failings that made me not super excited for anything else in a series that might spawn from that movie. And so I don't know if I'm suddenly excited. I'm a little bit more curious, but curiousness and excitement are not the same thing. So that's my thoughts. And then we have this third thing that's interesting. That's one word for it. So of course, right now we have approximately 700,000 streaming services. I'm just guessing. That might be a lowball number. Apparently, Warner Media is going to be getting on top of this. They're following in the footsteps of such things like the DC Universe platform, the HBO Go, CWC, Netflix, all of it, and they're making a direct to consumer streaming platform. It's going to be launching sometime at the end of next year. I cannot talk today. I am so sorry. See, I can't even say I'm sorry. So this is really interesting though, because there's a ton of stuff that is owned by Warner. So yeah, this is really interesting because I mean, it's too much, honestly. That's what I think. But it's interesting because there's a whole lot that they could put on this. And so this is definitely big news, but because it owns Turner, it owns Cartoon Network and Otter Media, Crunchyroll, VRV, Full Screen, Gunpowder and Sky, Hello Sunshine, Rooster Teeth, Crunchyroll. Oh, well, never mind. Two of those already have their own streaming services, but nevertheless, there's so much that they can put in this. And so what do you think about this? Do you think that this is necessary with all the other streaming services we have?
No, it's not necessary. Warner Brothers, I already give you money for HBO Now each month. I'm not giving you more for a Warner. No, just no. Like, please. I had this conversation with my girlfriend because I'm about to move in with her, and I said I already have Netflix, HBO, and I bum off of someone's Hulu. I do not want to pay for any more. Like, it's getting too expensive to where you're going to be pouring in like $50, almost $100 across all these streaming platforms each month, and it's going to get to a point where there's going to be someone, and maybe Joel and I should do it so we can jump on it for a business opportunity, but someone is going to take everything and have like a central hub to where you pay that central hub and you get access to all of them. And then it could be a la carte, it could be, little packages here and there, but that's what it's going to become. It's going to become like DirecTV all over again. And then it's going to go the way of the wasteland, and someone's going to come up with a streaming service. It's getting too much. And I'm not going to do it. I don't know many people that probably will, because you're right. Like, people have already...
There's too many.
Yeah, people have already been subscribed to, anywhere from, I'd say, 3 to 5 right now, and it's like...
Yeah, probably so.
That's it. Like, I'm done. I'm already giving you money, Warner Brothers. I don't need to give you any more. So, it's just more irritating to know that, first of all, there's that many subscription services. As Joe pointed out, 700,803 or something like that. And then on top of all that, they're too late in the game. Just quit while you're ahead. Just kill it. You
Plus,
already have HBO. I don't understand why you want to do this.
Plus, Warner Brothers already just uploaded a bunch of its classic movies to Filmstruck, literally just recently. I think within the last couple of months. So, I mean, I don't even know if those are related to this, but.
Hey, Joel, I have this crazy idea. I have this really crazy idea. Now, you're going to have to bear with me. I never went to college for business, but bear with me, please. Warner Brothers, Warner Media, should, I don't know, just dump everything on a so-called streaming platform that they already own. Like, I don't know, like HBO, something that's already built into the system. It already has an algorithm. Why don't you just throw it on there? Whatever. But you know what? I'm not a business major, so I can't do that to them.
They can't waste a bunch of money building a new one, man. Come on.
Oh, I'm telling you, these studio heads, these company men, they don't know what the hell they're doing. It's just, oh god.
Yeah,
and they make way more than Joel and I will make in like 20 lifetimes. So
it's pretty crazy. All right, so now we have our weekly casting corner, and we start with Sarah Paulson. Everybody knows who she is by now, but she's going to be starring in a new thriller from the creators of Searching. Including the director, what's his name? Anish. Let's see, Anish Chaganty. See, I thought I had it correctly. And he's going to be co-writing this with the co-writer of Searching, Sev Ohanian. And this is going to be a movie called Run. The story follows a teenage girl raised in total isolation by her mother, played by Paulson, whose life begins to unravel as she discovers her mother is hiding a sinister secret. Obviously, this is a role built for Paulson, who is a great actress to convey a character with secrets, I think. And she's a very intense actor often in her movies and her work on TV. So really excited for this. Really excited for something else from the Searching director. Because it's going to be interesting to see him outside of the, on screen, the screens on screen kind of gimmick that he took on with Searching. So, there's that. There's also a new, Guy Ritchie has a new movie in the works. I think this is Guy Ritchie, right? Called Tough Guys. I don't know if you're supposed to say that. Tough Guys, or I'm not entirely sure, but it's spelled Toff and then Guys. And there have been 3 actors added to this: Matthew McConaughey, Henry Golding, and Kate Beckinsale. And I'm actually looking up right now. My thing is really, really slow. Okay. For the okay, so. With Tough Guys, Ritchie will return. Man, I can't speak today. With Tough Guys, Ritchie will be returning to that mode of storytelling. This is in terms of like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, with a film that will explore the collision between old money European wealth and the modern marijuana industrial complex, with new gang entrants swarming. Ritchie's signature visual cocktail will be served with an abundance of fun. That's the official statement, I'm guessing. And this is fresh off of his live-action remake of Aladdin, which comes out in May, and we'll get to that in a second. But this sounds pretty fun. I'm not real familiar with a lot of his older work. I haven't seen Snatch or Lock, Stock, or Revolver. But anyway, sounds like a fun movie. Certainly a cool cast. McConaughey having another kind of reconnaissance. He's done a lot more movies as of late than in the last couple of years. He's got Serenity coming up in January. That was supposed to be opening, I think, this week, but it comes out in January. And, just had White Boy Rick. And then Anne Hathaway's also got, Kate Beckinsale hasn't really done anything, I don't think, since Underworld. And then Henry Golding, straight off of Crazy Rich Asians and A Simple Favor. Really good actor that I think should play James Bond. Hello, Hollywood. So, good cast, interesting material. Not much to say about that one. And then finally, not finally, but the next one is the next Godzilla movie after King of Monsters, which is actually the Godzilla vs. Kong movie that will take, the current Godzilla and have him face off against the Kong from Kong Skull Island. That one's in the works for, is it 2021? Or is it 2020?
I thought it was coming out in 2020.
It might be 2020. I couldn't remember if it was the year after King of the Monsters or 2 years. But anyway, it's coming up after that, and it's already, of course, got Millie Bobby Brown, who will be in King of the Monsters as well. Um, and this Godzilla versus Kong has added somebody, and that is Brian Tyree Henry. He is on that show Atlanta right now, and he's really, really having a crazy year with White Boy Rick, Widows. I think he's in something else.
If Beale Street Could Talk.
If Beale Street Could Talk, that's the one. That's a crazy lineup, and yeah, pretty solid choice. I haven't seen much from him yet. I think actually the only thing I've seen him in thus far is White Boy Rick, and that's a very small role. But anyway, promising news. And meanwhile, there's going to be an adaptation of Fantasy Island coming, and they've already got the first two actors. Michael Pena is going to be the main actor, and they've also got Dave Bautista in there. Now, this one is said to be like a mix between The Cabin in the Woods and they said something else, but here's the problem. And this is where I start to maybe trust Chase's whole "what have you done for me" last thing, which usually I kind of reject just because, what if a great director suddenly made a bad movie? I wouldn't just immediately not look forward to the next one. But, okay. This is at work. This is in the works at Blumhouse, which is promising. Do you know where I'm headed with this, Chase?
Joel, if you speak bad of my Blumhouse, I'm cutting you off.
I'm not speaking bad of Blumhouse.
I will snip your Skype connection off, and then you will blow away like a turd in the wind. Okay, so just be very careful. Just be very careful.
No, not about Blumhouse. But do you know where I'm headed with this? Because do you know who the director is?
Actually, no. I haven't done any research.
Okay, well, okay, so. Jeff Wadlow is going to be directing this.
Oh, Kick-Ass 2.
And also, Truth or Dare.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah.
That one.
That one. He was also attached to the Masters of the Universe movie. Took a crack at X-Force. And left both of those projects. And he's taken this one. I don't know. I mean... This one's based on the show that's about a mysterious overseer of a cryptic island that attracts visitors from all over the globe who could come and live out their fantasies for a price, and it's apparently going to be really crazy, probably pretty violent, I can suspect.
So it's like The Purge, but on an island?
Maybe, but
yes.
I don't know about that. But I don't know if it's The Purge, really, but it's... kind of death racy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
In terms of like they're all on an island. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I remember the TV series not being super popular, but in any case, all right. So let me know what you think about these.
So I guess going down from top to bottom, Sarah Paulson, great. I always love watching her, whether it be in American Horror Story or when they do the People versus O.J. Simpson. Her dropping one of the first MFer on the FX channel, which is what a great thing to be the first one to do. No, but she's really great. She's a great presence in whatever she does on television. I've only seen her in a few movies, so I can't really be like, oh yeah, she's really great in like cinematic form, but television, she's got that nailed down. But I'll watch anything with her in it. As far as the Matthew McConaughey, all right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I will watch anything with him in it. And then of course, who was the lady that you said that was going to be in it?
Kate Beckinsale.
That's right. I'm a little disappointed in you, Joel. I don't get disappointed in Joel often. It's maybe 5 times a day. But this, I think this takes the cake. If you replay what Joel just said, he said, I think Kate Beckinsale, the last thing she did notable was Underworld, when she was also in one of Joel's favorite movies last year, Love and Friendship. Now, I don't know if Joel had a complete,
Well,
like, just
that was
brain fart.
before the last Underworld. That was 2 years ago.
But still,
Yeah,
Joel.
that's true.
Yeah, no, and then of course Henry Golding. That's actually a pretty good pick for James Bond, by the way. I want to see him do more stuff. I know he was in A Simple Favor, didn't see it, but man, for a guy that really didn't have any type of resume to be in one of the biggest rom-coms of this year and completely just be charming and captivating, like, I'll watch anything with him in it. So he's starting to slowly kind of creep up there in terms of just someone, whoever is in anything, I will give it a shot. Brian Tyree Henry has always been one of these magical fellas that just will pop up in a movie and I just immediately smile. I love his energy and his charisma and anything he does. I didn't really care for Hotel Artemis, but him interacting as Sterling K. Brown's brother.
That was the other thing he was in.
Yeah, that was a good kind of back and forth. Like, I would like to see them in a movie to be brothers again. And so, I didn't really care for the movie, but he had a really fun little scene at the very beginning. So, whenever he pops off in something, I'm always down to watch him. And I did see a few episodes of Atlanta, and then of course him and Lakeith Stanfield and Donald Glover, all three of them great on that show. So him being in a Godzilla versus Kong movie, sure. It's one of those things to where he was also in Hotel Artemis. Didn't really care for that, but he made his scenes work, so maybe he'll make his scenes work there. Maybe he will be the key to stopping this war, and he'll have like Kong telepathy or something, and like he can talk with him or Godzilla or whatever. I think that'd be kind of fun. Dave Bautista and Michael Pena in Fantasy Island. So maybe not like The Purge or like Death Race, but I feel like I've seen this idea before, and maybe it's somewhere, but I can't think of it. But I wonder how many times Michael Pena on set will ask Dave about all the stuff he's done on Twitter and stuff. Like, it's such an awkward thing because they both technically still are in the MCU, and it's just I would be very tempted as a cast member to be like, hey, so Dave, what's going on in that Twitter feed, man? But no, I think both of them together, I think if they're so radically different in character, I think it will work, but they cannot be, because all I have in my head right now is images of Drax and then of his name is
Luis.
Sorry. They're both kind of fast-talking, very quippy characters. I hope they just, because I'm just picturing those two, and I don't want, like, the same thing. I want them to be, like, totally different to where they work really well off each other in contrast. So I think all around this is solid work. I mean, typically, unless something just seems really off, I will always like any type of casting because I think anything or anyone can make anything work. But I mean, if it just screams like a red flag warning, I'll say something. But I think for the most part, this is an all solid list.
All right, guys, that is the news there, and now I'm going to move on to my weekly Oscar beat. And this week, I'm talking about the animated feature category. This is a surprisingly fluid category because there are a number of contenders, although kind of a lower number than usual. In any case, I don't feel like there's a clear winner this year, so it's become very interesting. But I think some of the outlying contenders might include something like Early Man, which I know we were both lukewarm on, but it's still stop motion animation, and that's gonna resonate. Lou Over the Wall is a tiny little G-Kids movie from I think April or May. That one could be a player. Smallfoot could obviously be a play for Warner Brothers. Universal Their Illumination brand has The Grinch coming in November. That's something that could easily be in there. And also, again, with Warner Brothers, Teen Titans Go to the Movies is a big hit and a big critical hit. So I feel like those are probably outliers, though, because there are four major contenders, particularly, and then one movie that's also from G Kids that I think might be the one that sneaks in there, because usually one of these does, I find, and it's called Mirai. It's Mirai, and this one I'm going to read off the synopsis. A young boy encounters a magical garden, which enables him to travel through time and meet his relatives from different eras, with guidance by his younger sister from the future, which is certainly a premise. It's from the director of stuff like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Wolf Children, Summer Wars, The Boy and the Beast. Really popular movies with the anime crowd. My store that I work for has a lot of people who buy anime, and we have a big anime selection. And those are ones that are constantly asked about or bought at our store. So I can vouch that with anime fans, they are big hits. So that one could easily go in, considering it's so heady and apparently beautiful animation. It's hand drawn, of course. There's also Fox, and that's G Kids in association with Fathom Events. So that's going to be one of those things that just plays for 2 days in a week at a Cinemark, pretty much. And then there's also Fox Searchlight. They have another stop motion animation movie, and that's one of the best movies of the year in the form of Isle of Dogs. That's going to be a big player. Sony has Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We don't know how that movie is yet, but it's obviously going to be a contender. And then Disney has its 2 movies. One of them's in-house, and that's Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, and also their movie with Pixar, which is Incredibles 2. And I feel like it's probably between those last 4, and it really, the winner really could be any one of those. At this point, each, 3 of them have the backing, and one of them is probably a gem in the making. I have a feeling it's going to be very popular, and that's, the Spider-Man movie. But right now, I'm going to say just default, because they won last year, I'm going to say that probably Pixar has this one. And I'm going to say that Incredibles 2 likely is the front runner for this. But like I said, I don't even think there is a clear front runner. So it could easily be Ralph Breaks the Internet when that comes out in just about a month from now. So yeah, we'll definitely keep watch on this, because it could be that Sony plays Hotel Transylvania 3 instead. It could very well be. And it could be that Warner Brothers, pitches in for like Batman Ninja or something, which is certainly going to be one of the things that they submit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this one, because there are a lot of really like oddball choices out on the fringes of this category. But I have a feeling that Incredibles 2 is headed to a victory at this point in the race. So, Chase, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you agree with that, or do you think that Ralph Breaks the Internet's going to take it? What's going on in that head of yours?
Because it's kind of hard to judge right now, because I think you and I both agree that like Isle of Dogs and like an Incredibles 2, they're up there. But also, you and I both know that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Wreck-It Ralph 2 could dethrone those 2 for us, but we just haven't seen them yet. So it's kind of hard to judge right now. But it's like you said, it's going to be between those last 4 that you listed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, let's head into our trailer segment for the week. The first one, Chase, take it away.
Oh, my God. See, this is what happens when you let Joel run the show, make the notes, because he knows I'm going to get angry and be sarcastic in the way I describe this. So what's the first trailer that dropped this? Well, loosely, in quotes, the first trailer that dropped this week is based on a little 1992 film. I don't think anyone's ever heard of it. It is called Aladdin. Aladdin. I don't know. It's Aladdin, and it is the live action remake. As Disney is proving once again, they are just taking all of their animated ones and throwing it into live action, whether it be Beauty and the Beast, Alice in Wonderland. They're just on a roll. Jungle Book. So, this one is directed by Guy Ritchie, and Will Smith is going to take on the iconic voice of the genie, as Robin Williams did in the original. So it's really funny because I was going to read the plot to this, but I'm not joking. This is what it says on IMDb for the 2019 version. A live-action retelling of the 1992 Disney film of the same name. That's it.
Hey,
so cool, thanks. So if no one's ever heard of it, that's all they have to go by. So I'm going to actually read you the plot synopsis of the 1992 version so you know what is up, because they've already made their first mistake with this. So, you have Aladdin, who is kind of a street rat urchin, just stealing stuff, making a bunch of flea market people like just pissed off. It's a really sweet family tale. And then he sees the eye of a beautiful princess, and he tries to get her love going. He's just like, hey, my name is Aladdin, and I have a genie. Of course, he finds the lamp. He spits out the genie. He gets the 3 wishes, and he tries to impress Princess Jasmine. So that is the essential story of Aladdin, and of course, a lot of other stuff with like Jafar and all that stuff. But it's just best to know like nothing and just go in blind, because it's one of my favorite ones that I watched as a kid, and I will continue to watch it to this day. Now for the live action one, we knew it was coming. We knew this trailer was coming. We didn't know how it was going to look, how it was going to feel. So hey, listen, Disney was like, hey, we got our first teaser trailer. Okay. Well, I watched it, and then I realized that, Joel, I don't like to brag that often, but I feel like I made the Aladdin teaser trailer a while ago in school when I made a PowerPoint presentation of some random subject, and I put a bunch of photos together, and I said, the end, and I think the teacher said, that wasn't really necessarily good, but it was there. And so I think Disney stole my idea of creating a PowerPoint with photos in it and, just calling it a day. This teaser's awful. And I'm starting to realize the trend that they got going on right now. Because the first teaser for Beauty and the Beast was actually verbatim exactly like this. It was just a bunch of, kind of overhead shots, maybe a couple shots inserted, and then, of course, the Rose shot at the very end of someone trying to grab it. Aladdin's basically the same thing, but less. It is like maybe 2 environmental shots. It shows the shot of the Cave of Wonders and a really poorly green screen final shot of Aladdin trying to get the lamp. And then it just cuts, Memorial Day 2019, end.
Yeah.
That was not even a teaser. That wasn't even a trailer announcing that the movie was coming. I feel like someone just put like behind the scene photos and just put them aligned and just call it a day. It's an awful first impression. I mean, if you're gonna give us a teaser, I would rather I understand not giving us like a full scope of the story. I get that. You save that for your trailer. But for a teaser, for God's sake, put some more in there. It shows a desert. It shows a parrot flying through it. Then it goes to the Cave of Wonders on the outside and goes on to the inside. That's it. And then the last shot looks awful. I don't know why people are saying that the Cave of Wonders looks majestic. It looks, illuminating with all that gold behind them. It is poorly composited. It looks so fake from Aladdin and the prop of the lamp and everything. It does not look right. It looks so off. And I realize that they have a little while longer until this movie comes out. Granted, I don't know if the effects are done. It's probably not even close to being done. But this is a poor representation of your movie right off the bat. Now, am I excited for it? Sure. I like Guy Ritchie as a director. I want to see what he does. That's all I got for it. I think I was burned so much by Beauty and the Beast to where I don't really care, but Guy Ritchie does pique my interest, and I want to see how Will Smith kind of carries over the the legendary role that Robin Williams left. So it's terrible. I don't like if we're talking about the trailer, I do not like it. So Joel, did you like this PowerPoint presentation that Disney decided to pour millions of dollars into?
That's literally what it is. It's as if they had. So this trailer dropped Thursday night during a football game, and it's like they made it to maybe Wednesday. No, maybe Wednesday afternoon, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a trailer coming tomorrow, and we haven't made it yet. So let's go find 6 shots that are semi-finished." And I counted; there are 6 shots in this trailer. And put them together with some text and stretch it out to 1.5 minutes and tell no one anything about what the movie's about and only basically show off the parts of the movie that we've finished, yet they'll also look incredibly digitized and fake. That's pretty much what this trailer is. You're right, it's a terrible first impression because couldn't they have waited a couple of weeks? Like maybe figured out some other way of selling this movie, released a trailer right in time for Nutcracker in the Four Realms, because they're clearly going to put this in front of that. And I've seen more elaborate trailer teasers than this. Like, I just don't understand what they were thinking with this. This is one of the worst bits of marketing I think Disney has ever done.
It's lazy. That's
it's
the word
really
for it.
lazy.
It's lazy.
Yeah. It is beyond lazy, and it's just it looks so overproduced. The shot at the beginning of the desert outside of Agrabah is one of the ugliest things I've seen in a modern CGI driven movie. It looks infinitely uglier than anything in the Jungle Book, which will have been 3 years before this. And that's still my favorite movie in their whole bid to try to remake all of these. I like Pete's Dragon a lot too. That's a great movie, but Jungle Book is my favorite, and I think that movie it had a lot of visual effects, but it utilized them in such a way that it still kept the simpleness of the story intact. It didn't lean into the fact that it's CG heavy. It just was because it's a story set in the jungle. So this one though, man, it just obviously we can't really say how it's used, but it doesn't sell it well. So terrible trailer. Moving on to our second one. This one is for Ben is Back. This is one of a couple of dramas that Lucas Hedges has in store for us this fall. He's in Mid-90s, he's in Boy Erased, and he's in Ben is Back. They all come out like within several weeks of each other. But this one is directed by his father, Peter Hedges, who also made Pieces of April, Dan in Real Life, The Odd Life of Timothy Green. He works very sparsely, but scarcely. There we go. But it looks really good. It's basically about this 19-year-old kid named Ben who comes out of rehab after, I think, like a year, something like that. And he was in there for drug addiction, so it's another drug addiction movie. But it turns out that his business with his dealers might not be over, and that puts a huge strain on him and his mother, played by Julia Roberts. This one looks really strong. The performances look terrific. The drama looks heavy, but without being heavy-handed. It doesn't look like it's gonna push too hard on it. It looks like a very small drama, very modest, but also with scenes of immense power. It's a really, really well constructed trailer. The use of music in it is really striking. Hedges looks great, of course. He's one of our most promising young actors. I think he's going to have a real future. I've said that since Manchester by the Sea. And Yeah, I think that this looks really, really strong. Chase, what about you?
Yeah, I thought it was a really just nice, strong trailer to show us a little bit of the story, show us a little bit of the performances, and show us that with people like Julia Roberts and like kind of seeing her acting chops, and then seeing Lucas Hedges go up against a titan like her. It's just a really well done trailer. Now it will be interesting to see which movie about addiction portrays it better, because you got Beautiful Boy with Timothée Chalamet, and then that's really funny because like Lucas Hedges is in two movies competing with the same themes, where he's got this one and Beautiful Boy going head to head about
Oh yeah,
drug addiction, and then he's got Boy Erased, and then the Miseducation of Cameron Post with the gay conversion story. So that's that's fascinating. No,
yeah.
but Lucas Hedges, I remember when we walked out of Manchester by the Sea, which, by the way, Joel, we old, man. That was 2 years ago. That seems like it was last month.
2 years ago this week, actually. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't even say that. It just sounds so bad. It literally feels like Joel and I saw it last month. But I remember when we walked out of there, and I'll still continue to say this until the day I die. Joel loved Lucas Hedges more than Casey Affleck. I remember him specifically saying, like, that kid's going places. He's going to get nominated. It's going to happen. I didn't believe him, and guess what happened? He got nominated. And there's a reason why. It's because he's really talented in whatever role he does. He sinks into that character. He looks like this is a person that's going to struggle with his relapse and his addiction, and have this conflict with the people around him that love him the most. And it's going to be one of those tear-jerking kind of raw stories, and I think getting someone like a Lucas Hedges, who's up and coming, to be in such a vulnerable role is just, I mean, with this and a movie about gay conversion, like, he is really putting himself out there as an actor, and I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that Julia Roberts is coming back and doing stuff, because for a while she took a break, I think, for her family, and then of course she came back last
I think
year.
she had a kid, right? I think
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
happened.
she had a kid. She took a few years off from acting, and then she kind of slowly came back in movies, and then she really set her mark last year with Wonder, and then now you got this one. So she's back, which is awesome. She's always been great, but it's nice to finally see her be consistent. So yeah, I can't wait for this, man. But I want to see just how this one compares to Beautiful Boy, because I know that people are going to bring it up, and I want to know, because addiction is one of those things, Joel, like, because in some way, shape, or form, I think everyone has an addiction in their life. Some of them may be more severe than others, and it's one of those kind of subject matters that you want to just make sure it's told correctly, and I just don't want, like you said, one movie to be kind of heavy-handed and just really, like, it just hits you over the head without really saying anything, and it's just almost like abusive of the subject, and really doesn't do anything. But this one looks like a good balance, so I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think it comes out in December.
Yes.
December 7th is its initial rollout. I'm sure it's after that for us, but
Joel doesn't know
really
this,
good.
but I got a date announcement for when press can see it. So I'll be hitting up Joel for that one later. But yeah, so the next trailer is basically Hidden Figures meets Black Klansman. What a great combination!
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Yeah,
it is.
it's
Oh my
two
gosh.
great movies, and so this one's called The Best of Enemies, and this one focuses on the real-life civil rights activist Ann Atwater, played by Taraji P. Henson, one of my favorite actresses to watch, and she goes off against C.P. Ellis, which is he's like a David Duke. He's ahead of one of the chapters of the Ku Klux Klan.
I think he was the one right before David Duke, maybe.
Okay,
'Cause
so
I'm pretty sure he lasted for a while longer after this, and
okay.
then David Duke took over. That's what I believe.
Okay, yeah, I don't really look into Ku Klux Klan members that much because
No. I just,
yeah, I know. We
That
all
now
know
makes
what
me
Joel
look
does
bad.
on the weekends. No, that'd be awful. Just to
no.
set
In my
something clear,
research following Black Klansman,
yeah,
I think I clicked on his name and it said that he succeeded. Succeeded, and I think the person's name was Ellis, so I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was this
Well,
person.
I just want to make it clear to everyone, Joel is not a part of. He's not white supremacist. Just it was a joke. So, all right. And so, anyways, this was focusing on the case in 1971 where Atwater took on Ellis in court over the issue of school integration with blacks and whites, and so that's what the story kind of focuses on. And man, it looks so good. I can't wait for this. I love stories like this. I love real life history and these kind of court cases coming to life, especially when they deal with issues like this that unfortunately are still an issue to some people today with racism. I don't know why it's 2018, but it's the world we live in. But no, I think this trailer really portrays that quite well. It is like, it feels like a Hidden Figures, another movie with Taraji P. Henson, and then of course with Black Klansman earlier this year with the Ku Klux Klan, and also it's interesting because we have another one with Mahershala and Vigo with the Green Book, kind of testing these relationships and these back and forth between two people of different color, and really showing the kind of relationship with them, even though they kind of maybe hate each other, but like they find understandings. It's just it's fascinating. But I think this one does have some strong promises to be another sleeper hit like Hidden Figures. If people remember correctly, that movie crushed week by week by week at the box office when it came out, and I really hope that this one kind of draws people in, because I know Taraja has her fan base, and of course Sam Rockwell just won his Oscar, and so I think this is a perfect combination to tell this story. Great actors involved. It's just a strong trailer. I can't wait, man. It's just it kind of sucks that we gotta wait so long, because it doesn't even come out until April of next year. But I don't know. It's kind of tough because the competition's a little stiff. I was going to say they might as well push it for the Oscars this year, but no. The competition's too stiff. Keep it out. But, for a story that, happened, many decades ago, it's really prevalent to today's kind of awful, divisive times. So, I love movies like this to kind of strike through all the noise of today's political climate. So, Joel, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, it's a really good trailer, and we'll get into the release date and what I think is going to happen with our last trailer. Let's just say that. But anyway, because it's got the same one, but yeah, it looks really good. I think you're right. It's I can't believe I didn't think of it, but it is Hidden Figures meets Black Klansman in certain ways, and it looks really strong. I love Henson. She was obviously great in Hidden Figures, and yeah, it seems like this would be perfect for some sort of Oscar season, but I guess we'll see. I mean, if they can push it hard enough, they could probably get Henson and Rockwell in there.
Well, to be honest, when I was watching the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this comes out in like a couple months. They're going to push it for Oscars." And then it said April. I was like, "What? Am I being pranked right now? This is weird."
Yeah, it's very strange, but it's a really strong trailer. Rockwell looks good. Looks like the character takes an interesting turn. I haven't looked into Ellis at all, but it's interesting. I never knew about this particular point of history, so really strong trailer. Kind of typically structured. It certainly sells it with all the right beats. This was basically the sort of rhythm that the Hidden Figures trailer had. They're very similar, but it's really strong. I liked it a lot. And again, we'll get into the the release date here in a few minutes. But before that, I want to talk about our next trailer, which is Bodied. This one comes out on YouTube and in select theaters on November 2nd, my birthday. And this one is about a kid who takes on a sociological experiment by entering into underground rap battles in order to do something. I actually don't know what his point is here, but anyway, this one looks like a lot of fun. It's produced by Eminem. It's directed by Joseph Kahn, who directed Torque back in 2004, then went on and directed a movie that I've heard mixed things about, but Detention back in 2012. And he's also then from then on kind of shifted over to music videos. He's directed a lot of Taylor Swift's music videos, for instance, recently, including "Shake It Off" and what was that other one? The one about the hold on, I forgot. Anyway, I forgot the name. It's a couple years ago. That's gonna bother me. I think he might have directed the Delicate music video as well, which is really cool. A really cool one. But anyway, he's gotten into directing a lot of her videos. Oh, Bad Blood, the one with a bunch of like visual effects and Haley Steinfeld's in it and stuff. He directed that one, I'm pretty sure. So here, he's taking on similar subject, a similar subject in terms of there's gonna be a lot of music here, a lot of rap battles, and looks really interesting, looks really funny. I gotta say, it's gonna be an interesting little peek into this world, so it of course makes sense that Eminem produces it. But so many killer moments in this trailer. It's an adult trailer. It's the Red Band trailer. It's obviously a very vulgar movie, and because it takes place in this universe, but killer moments like the the Kim Jong-un joke that he makes during one of the rap battles. It's awesome. So it's a little peek into how this world works, and I'm a fan of it for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those trailers that like it kind of catches you off guard. Now, I'm just gonna start with the obvious first, since it is. I mean, it's being kind of distributed by Neon, but it's still a YouTube original, and it does kind of have that non-cinematic, like fully produced internet look. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is something that I immediately notice. It's like, okay, this is a YouTube Red original or whatever that's called. But as far as the actual trailer goes, I loved it. It kind of reminds me of the passion and energy and kind of mix of genres as not as good as, but kind of like a Blind Spotting, where it looks like it's going to tackle all these kind of
the racial tension stuff.
Yeah, like the racial tensions, but also have like a lighter edge in some scenes, and it, like Joel said, is going to really kind of peek back the curtain on this world of like underground like rap battles. And I've always found that stuff interesting. Even when I was a kid and I watched 8 Mile, my favorite parts were the rap battle scenes, and I've always liked just kind of that environment. And so I think it's a cool story to have this kid that's really obsessed with rap battles, and he's doing like his thesis on it, and he himself gets so involved into it that he wants to up his game in the rap battle. And I think that's
the other killer moment is the when he's at the table and that the black girl says, "What have you been doing lately besides appropriating our culture for your own benefit?" Which is great moment because that's essentially all it is when white people come into it. It's very true. So
anyway. It's a really great trailer, and I think out of all the trailers I've seen for all the YouTube original stuff, this is definitely by a mile the best thing I've seen so far, and I haven't even seen the movie yet. So, because everything else looks like just really highly produced garbage. Bodied, really good trailer. Now the last trailer, another one that I didn't even know was going to drop, caught me off guard. Now this one is Pet Sematary, and it is the remake of the Pet Sematary original. But I want to be very careful on how I describe this, because if you have never seen it, it is
I have never seen it.
Exactly. It is quite shocking to know what happens in the first act. So I'm going to go ahead and just delicately go around it. So essentially, a family and their 2 kids move to this house. Something happens, and so let's just say if they go in the woods in the back of their house or across the street, maybe there is this kind of weird cemetery for pets and people dropping off their pets and whatnot and burying them there. Let's just say whatever is buried there does come back to life. And so a lot of creepy imagery with animals, but the crux of the story is what is buried there and what comes back as a let's just say a different entity. Like it doesn't feel like it's itself. That's all I'll say. Because because when I saw it for the first time, I was shocked. I was like, this happened within the first 20 minutes. This is crazy. So I won't go any further than that. But in terms of the actual trailer, I loved it. Loved it. Paramount, thank you for delivering what looks like kind of the same style and how the like A Quiet Place trailer was edited, where it had such visual intensity with its creepy imagery, and then of course just the fast-paced editing, and of course there's jump scares, but it was so well crafted in terms of editing that I really didn't care. It visually looks great. It looks like it's just a really great horror film, and I'm so glad that Stephen King adaptations are getting this kind of like really great revival, because It from last year I absolutely loved. And if you guys have not seen, this isn't directly tied to a specific story, but is loosely based on his characters and settings. Castle Rock on Hulu was such an excellent series, and that had Stephen King written all over it. So I'm so glad that his movies are getting this kind of like fresh revival, and it seems like they're on the right path to having just great after great after great hit with all these remakes and stuff and these revivals. So I love the trailer as a horror fan. I can't wait to see it. And the cat in the original creeped me out, and the cat in this trailer creeped me even more out, because it looked like a dumpster alley cat with yellow devilish eyes, and there's nothing more frightening than that. So I thought it was a pretty strong trailer to where it could be an awful, very, very sucky movie, but I think for what we were given as our first look, is a very, very strong promise. So, Joel, did this... I know that, when it comes to us, I am probably the bigger horror fan. I know you like your horror films when they're done correctly, but did this one kind of move your meter a little bit to more exciting, or are you just like, this looks like awful, just typical horror trash?
Well, I actually think it looks pretty terrifying, actually. So I'm a fan of the trailer. I
Wait,
think
so Joel, are you saying live on air that you want me to get you a cat like that for your birthday?
Is this going to be one of those Parks and Rec-ish situations where you intentionally misunderstand me and get me a cat like that?
Yeah, I think
All
so.
Right. Okay. If he gets me a cat like that, I will tell everyone on the air. Count on it. All right. This is it's a pretty terrifying trailer. I like how steeped in weird, creepy imagery it is, because I'm not familiar with the original movie, so I didn't know what it was about really. And I'm glad that you didn't fully let us all know, but yeah, it looks really promising for sure. I just want to say that this release date fascinates me. So this comes out April 5th. The Best of Enemies comes out April 5th. Guess what also comes out April 5th?
I think something to do with a grown-ass man leaving a gas station and drinking a liter of cola or something like that. I don't remember.
Captain Marvel. I'm just kidding. Shazam. They're the same thing. No. So, all right, guys. I'm gonna make a prediction right now. There are gonna be 2 months next year that are owned by Stephen King adaptations. There's going to be this month with this movie, April, because it comes out on April 5th. And there's going to be September when It Chapter 2 comes out. And I just have to wonder what's going to happen to Shazam, because it's already sandwiched in between two gigantic Netflix movies. I mean, MCU movies. I don't know why I just call them Netflix movies. My brain is off. I'm not on my game when it's the evening. I apologize, folks. It's sandwiched between two MCU movies. It's showing up right before the Hellboy reboot. It's right after. It's just after and before so much other stuff. And I just have to wonder what's going to happen to that movie, because you have two hits here pretty much in the making. I mean, there's no way that The Best of Enemies doesn't make money with the type of crowd that went to see Hidden Figures, the kind that eat that kind of true story based on racial tensions in the 60s and 70s. And also you have the kind of, audience that will eat up the horror remakes of Stephen King property. So what's going to happen to Shazam? It's just so fascinating to me. But anyway, briefly, that's sort of like a sidebar. But back to the trailer, it's very effective. I'm liking what I'm seeing of Jason Clarke here. Looks like a really good performance from him. And yeah, I think it's an excellent trailer all around for sure. It's probably my favorite of the week, actually. Just based on how well it builds hype, how well edited it is, and yeah, just as a horror trailer in general, for sure. So this is probably my favorite trailer of the week. So Chase, I want to ask you, what do you think is going to happen on April 5th?
I didn't even comprehend any of that until you said it, because when I looked at these trailers, I'm like, all right, Pet Sematary, great. The Best of Enemies, great. I completely forgot what date they were coming out. This is such bad news bears for Shazam. I can't even comprehend it. If you do not think Pet Sematary is going to take a huge chunk out of that audience that weekend, you are mistaken. I did not think it would be as big as it was, and it made over $120 million opening weekend. That is superhero level numbers, folks. Pet Sematary, I don't think will get that much, but it's going to get damn close. I actually think, if I had to make a bold prediction right now, Pet Sematary could come in anywhere, unless the second trailer just blows our socks off and it just amps up anticipation even more. It's going to get anywhere from 50 to 60, and then Shazam actually might fall in that same window. And then The Best of Enemies might actually take more out of that and might get like a $20 or $30 million opening weekend. It's going to be all high across the board. But if you're Warner Brothers right now, and you want your superhero movie to trump the rest of everything that's coming out that weekend, this is not the weekend to do it. You're going to get swallowed up. Pet Sematary, a lot of people will just look at horror films like, oh, I'm going to just slowly brush that away. I would not do that. Even with the movie like The Nun, which I do not like, it still has a built-in IP, and guess what? It's slaughtered at the box office. Horror movies are one of the most understood genres out there, because a lot of people just think, oh, they're just silly PG-13 jump scares and stuff, and yes, some of them are trash and some of them flop when they open. You got Stephen King's name on this in today's day and age, you done. Pet Sematary is gonna crush, man. I don't know what they're gonna do, but they need to either move, but then again, you're sandwiched in between Captain Marvel and Avengers 4. Joel, this just goes back to our whole thing. I'm just so glad that you and I are not CEOs of Warner Brothers, because we would probably panic, have high anxiety, and then probably quit, because I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, you guys figure it out, bye. So, yeah, I'm a little worried for it.
They just need to move it to August or something. I don't know. I'm just lost at this point.
Because the Joker's coming out in August, so maybe.
Oh. I thought that was October.
Why don't? Oh no, I was gonna say November, but then that's Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they could capitalize on like the Thor Ragnarok type of window. Yeah, I mean they're pretty much done. But actually, wait a minute. Why don't they move that to February? Because
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
like,
Dark Phoenix already moved out of the way, so why don't you just move that up?
But there was somebody who pointed out, I think it was Scott Mendelson, when I suggested that, because the only time that would make sense to do anything in February is like mid to late February, and he said it's not a good idea to put it in between the Lego Movie 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Well,
so,
and that's also true because Lego Movie 2 is another Warner Brothers property, and you don't want to sabotage yourself. So I get that. But then again, they're different crowds, so... Because that's more kid, family-oriented. Shazam's more teenage-based. So I think you could probably do it. But who knows? I'm not.
I don't know.
I'm not really
just
well
put it in.
versed
Just put it in January and be done with it. Honestly,
right?
Like that's what I'm saying. It's like literally because, like I was saying, they should just dump it in January and advertise Shazam alongside Aquaman. And maybe it'll actually do it a favor. People would just be like riding high right after Aquaman, and then see another movie in the universe. I don't know. It's just it's aggravating because it's just that one thing. It's like they have it in the worst possible release weekend that they could possibly have it in, and it's not even their fault technically, except for the fact that they originally put it in that weekend. So. I don't know. It's a weird thing. So, all right, guys. My favorite trailer was Pet Sematary. What was yours, Chase?
I think it was the PowerPoint presentation, but I think I might have to go with Pet Sematary as well.
You know, Aladdin that trailer is so forgettable that I forgot that we talked about it just like 10 minutes ago. All right. So we're going to move on into our shared review, and that is for First Man, of course.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And if that just spoiled what you guys what we think of it, then forget it. So be it. I'm just going to tell you right now we both loved it. So Joel, go ahead and just introduce the movie, sir.
Yeah, so this one tells the story of the 8 years that it took Neil Armstrong from one of his first test flights till the actual moon landing in July 1969, following several unsuccessful attempts to make a flight to the moon work, including the disastrous one on the Apollo 1 and a couple of them. Obviously it was Apollo 11, so there were several between that. But this one stars Ryan Gosling as Armstrong and Claire Foy as his wife Janet. It has an enormous cast. I kept saying, "Hey, that guy!" like every 10 minutes in this movie. It's insane how deep the roster of supporting actors there are in this movie is. To finish the sentence, and yeah, that's pretty much the movie. It's not a lot to say, but I'm going to just step away real fast while Chase starts his review. Go ahead, Chase.
Okay, so First Man obviously is directed by Damien Chazelle. It's even written by the gentleman that wrote Spotlight, which was one of Joel's favorite movies of that year. I really loved it quite a bit, and so it was such a powerhouse team. It's like, how could this movie fail? But, Damien Chazelle, directed Whiplash, one of my favorite movies, not only of all time, but my number one favorite movie of 2014. And, of course, he did La La Land, and I've seen that a million times, and I still like that movie quite a bit. I'll even go as far as to say I do love certain aspects about it, but I'm not fully enamored with it, but I still respect it because it is a hell of a movie, and I think Chazelle did a fantastic job. So when he's going from a jazz driven drama to a musical drama to now a biopic drama, it's just it's just a really interesting progression because I didn't really think this would be the next thing that he does, and so I thought he was going to wrap it up into like a music trilogy, but here we are. So I saw the first trailer to it, a while back when Joel and I covered it, and I absolutely loved it. I was like, cool, Damien Chazelle, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And of course, a couple more trailers come out. It's just like, just give me the movie already. I saw the movie, I'm going to tell it from my perspective in terms of the experience that I saw it in, because I don't know if this will make a difference or not, because Joel has the opposite of what I did. So I did go to a press screening in an IMAX presentation. So that's how I saw the movie. And I can tell you that the IMAX presentation was pretty damn spectacular. So I already spoiled it at the very beginning, but we both love this movie. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective on it and what I thought of First Man. It is, without a doubt, one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm thinking top 5 right now. I have it currently in the top 5, but I won't tell you where. But it is way up there. And it's one of these movies that Damien Chazelle, I think, did the impossible, where he did a wonderful balance of showing the intimacy, the vulnerability, and the kind of like untold look into this man's life that to the public, all we know is he was the first man to step on the moon. We got this kind of like raw, like behind the scenes of what his family life was like, what he was like with his neighbors, what he was like with his coworkers, how much weight was on this man's shoulders. This movie deals with a lot with Neil going through grief and, acceptance and, this kind of weight of and pressure from the public and, being brave and being strong for his family. And especially during that time in the 60s where, men were supposed to be like this strong, like Paul Bunyan type figure and never ever show emotions. And there are several scenes in this movie where he shows emotions and he really kind of breaks down. And so you get to see that intimacy and that vulnerability from a Neil Armstrong that we've actually never seen before on film. And then he balances it with the spectacle of the movie, with the actual launching of the rocket and these kind of like really tightly shot claustrophobic scenes where you just feel this visceral intensity of leaving the ground on Earth all the way up into the surface of the moon. Like you feel every weighted shot and just edit in this film when it comes to the kind of the missions of the missions of all the ones that he went through. And so Chazelle balances between showing us a more human side of this man and this story, but also showing the spectacle, while also keeping the spectacle kind of intimate as well, because there's hardly any wide shots of the rocket, and it really he just kind of keeps it close to the vest and just really kind of focuses in on what this mission was all about, which was, humanity and the quest for curiosity and exploration and science. Just I think Chazelle really kind of outdid himself. And kind of bleeding into that, we have the performances where I'm not going to lie, I love Ryan Gosling in this movie. He's great. There's a lot of moments where he has his Gosling like kind of strongman look, which is ironic because he's not really like a beefy dude, but he has like that strong presence where he can stare you down and really kind of peer into your soul and be like, this guy means business. But then there's some scenes in the movie where he just breaks down and you feel everything that this man is going through. And that's how great of an actor is. He's able to kind of flip back and forth like that at the drop of a hat and really convince you. But I'm not going to lie. My favorite performance was Claire Foy. I think she was the actual heartbeat of this movie. The entire time, she's the one supporting Neil. She's the one that has to confront him when he's not doing things correctly. Like, she's the one that has this immense pressure on her shoulders. I just thought her performance was so so unexpected in such a great way that it caught me off guard because I've never seen Claire Foy do like amazing work. Yeah, she was entertaining and insane, and I've never seen The Crown, but this was the first time where I was like, first of all, I was like, she's doing a great job in this movie, and second of all, I was like, now I'm even more excited for The Girl in the Spider's Web because of how good she is in this movie. So, there's something for that. And of course, everyone else around them is really just great supporting actors and actresses, just kind of lifting Claire and Ryan up into where they need to be as leads. So everyone does a fantastic job. The same cinematographer was the gentleman that did La La Land, and once again, just really kind of keeping it on this closely knitted type of framing, and just really make you feel like you're in the moment, in the movie, and with these characters all the way through.
Couldn't be more different visually from La La Land.
Oh, I know. Because this one's really kind of muted in color and really
that one was classical, very colorful, lots of blues and everything. And this is
not
kind of shaky cam in the for a reason. And very down and intimate.
Yeah,
sure.
It's just like, once again, it's just like what Joel said. Like, La La Land shows a bunch of wides. They show the musical numbers and the choreography. And this one, you don't even see below the chest. And so that's what he kind of went for with the look of it. And I also I know a lot of people aren't really touching upon this, but I love the kind of harsh film grain look to it. It looks like a film that was archived from the 60s, and that's it wasn't overdone. It was just the right amount of grain, and it really looked like actual film from like 50 plus years ago. So I really did like that nice little visual touch to everything. I will say, I understand the shaky cam. I understand the close-upness of the face, but I will say that the shaky cam did get a little too much, just because I did see it in IMAX, and so that screen is large, and when you're having these kind of like close-up shots with like extreme shaky cam, I don't mind it. And then if you cut to something else that's also shaky cam, because at least our eyes are kind of adjusting to something new. If you keep it on one image for too long and it's just going up and down so rapidly and it stays there for a good 10 seconds, it can be a little headache-inducing. And that's literally my only complaint, is that the shaky cam was maybe too much sometimes in the IMAX. But I still loved it regardless, just because you really felt the speed of that rocket. And, it's just genius to keep it that way. But, I just had to tell you about my IMAX experience. I was just like, some of them I was like, oh, man, this is getting intense, man. So, let's see. And I also, to kind of bleed into the overall film with like the editing and the structure, I think for a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, I don't feel the length of this at all. It's one of those movies that just kind of flies by because you're so interested in what's going on. Like, you love seeing Neil succeed in life. You love seeing him fail in life, because it just makes his redemptive arc even more satisfying. It's such an engaging story, and I just think when you have these performances that are elevated to this level, and then you have these kind of visceral action scenes, if you're into space stuff, or if you're into history, or if you just like Chazelle's work or Gosling's work, this movie's for you. Like, you're never going to be bored. This is it for you. And one last thing before I hand it off to Joel, and of course with my grade, is the music is spectacular. It's the type of like epic music you would want from a space epic. And there's even a couple of sequences where, like, when they're in space and they're about to land on the moon, that the sound cuts out, because obviously there's no sound waves in space, and so they cut it out, and then the music will just slowly kind of bellow underneath and just like slowly kind of rise into a crescendo. And it's like, that was really graceful. I really like that. And the music just really adds a lot to the scene at the very end when he's on the moon and doing his thing, which, by the way, I think that was the moment where I almost shed a tear. But that was such a great just accompaniment to that scene. And then I keep forgetting one last thing. These people online, I don't know if you are bored with your lives. I don't know if you hate yourself, but whoever spread the rumor of it being unpatriotic and them not showing the flag on the moon, they did not watch the movie. I said this in my tweet.
That's because it was like weeks before the movie ever showed.
Well,
And
so either way, these people are idiots. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to say what I said in my tweet. If this movie were any more patriotic, Ryan Gosling would have shotgunned a Pabst Blue Ribbon before he stepped on the Apollo flight. Like, it's seriously one of the most patriotic movies I've ever seen, but it doesn't shove it in your face. It's very subtle in the way it approaches it. It very much loves America. The whole theme of this movie is just beating the Russians. Like, it's like American pride of, like, I want to beat Russia in whatever space travels they do. So and of course the whole flag on the moon controversy, it's on the moon, it shows on the moon. So shut up. Why is this even a controversy? It's so stupid.
Somebody was even saying, like, be happy that they didn't show the entire process of putting it in the ground.
Yeah, it would have taken an hour. Like,
yeah, it took Armstrong about 5 minutes because of gravity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that would have been boring. Cut it. It's so stupid. So I love this movie quite a bit. It's definitely top 5 material. Definitely one that I can't wait to watch again, and will definitely be talked about in our top 10 of the year, even with Mark. I know Mark is a huge fan too, so I think Joel, Mark, and myself will all be talking about First Man, because First Man for me gets a very, very, very strong A. And who knows, maybe when I watch it again, I might bump it up to that plus, but you guys know my rule on that. Unless I truly feel it, I can't do it, but as high as I go, I will go with an A. So First Man, baby, it's something. So Joel, please enlighten me, because you're smarter than me. I want to know kind of like your take on this. Like what were your strongest points, and like what kind of just captured you in awe like the most with this movie?
Well, I do want to start by just commenting on the shaky cam aspect.
Oh, I knew you would. And I just want to clarify. I did see it on a screen that was twice as big as what Joel saw it on, and
It doesn't. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about. I think I've even talked to you about this. I personally think I take this kind of philosophical approach to criticism, which is what we're doing. I know that we're two guys on a podcast, but we are analyzing a movie. I think that certain thoughts are more important than others, and so I think that I know that you had a specific experience with this movie, and this is not to like walk all over you. I understand where you're coming from on this, but I think that there's too much emphasis, especially in today's climate of film criticism, of reviewing experiences rather than the movie. And I think that there's a specific reason why this movie has so much shaky cam. And I think that the reason why it has so much shaky cam pretty much elevates itself above any sort of experience that one can have with the use of it. The reason that they have so much shaky cam here, to me, is that they want to disorientate viewers, put them on edge, put them in the cockpit of these shuttles, and especially in IMAX, they want to drain all of the awe from space that they possibly can, because this movie is not trying to be Gravity, for instance. It's not trying to put us into an awe-inspiring kind of mindset whenever this movie goes into space. Generally speaking, we can barely see space because they can barely see space. They have a tiny window in their cockpit in which they can see the sky, not the sky, but the scope of space. Barely see any sort of stars, anything like that. And I think it keeps it all for that final moment on the moon, where we get, and it's a great moment. I think it's played with reverence for the historical nature of it. It's played with a keen sense of the loneliness that Armstrong felt for those 20 minutes that he was on the moon. And it also plays it for humor because, as we've seen from archival footage and in this movie and the recreation of it, he kind of also used that opportunity to just kind of jump around. I mean, part of it was because of gravity; he could only jump around, but he also kind of did silly kind of dance moves and all of that. He used it to be a bit of a goofball, and it's played for that kind of humor, and it's perfectly played. But that's the only moment in which we, as an audience, experience the awe of space, and that's because it's really the only time he did. Usually, he was in a cockpit, barely able to see anything out of his tiny little windows that he had, and so the reason that we have so much shaky cam is because we're constantly in his headspace. And so for me, personally speaking, I think that that's more important than any sort of comfort that you or I could have with experiencing the shaky cam. Again, it's because of why they're using it and how they're using it. How Tom Cross edits all of the sequences of flight to be almost kind of abstract. You think about the opening scene, the simulation in 1961. This first simulation that we see, in which Armstrong is just and the NASA at large is just kind of testing the waters, the limits of their pilots, and it's kind of like we can barely see anything that's going on, and the reason is because he can barely see anything that's going on. It's supposed to disorientate us, and so that's all. I think that it's valid to your experience. I don't know if it's super important to the movie though.
So
because
let me just kind of rephrase. Maybe what I meant is because I get slight motion sickness sometimes, so I just want to warn people that maybe if you want to see this in IMAX, I recommend it, but those scenes can sometimes be a little motion sickness. If you are sensitive to that stuff, that's all I'm basically saying.
I guess I just felt like you leaned a little too heavily into reviewing your experience rather than just saying, "Hey guys, by the way, this is there's a lot of shaky cam here. There's if you have motion sickness, beware." But
I should have said that.
Yeah, because
my apologies.
Otherwise, I just feel like even if you do get motion sickness, it's really not all. I mean, it's important to you, but it's not really important to the movie. Because the movie's trying to do a specific thing, and it does that,
and it succeeds in the movie because the movie opens up with it, and it gets you right in the moment, and that's what's so brilliant about that technique with the flights.
Yeah, for sure, and it's important with pretty much any scene that we have set inside the simulation. You think about the test launch with the Apollo 1 when they're asked, the Chazelle kind of puts it on himself to convey the claustrophobia of that before it explodes, and three of the astronauts are killed. That's not really a spoiler. People have too wide a definition for what spoiler is. This is the thing that happened. It's part of the Apollo series of missions. So
yeah, if it's more biographical, you can be a little bit more lenient with spoilers just because it's like
it happened.
Stuff happened.
There's no reason that you wouldn't have been able to find that out. But anyway, getting into the movie though, I just want to start with again actually the cinematography, which I think is just so important to a movie like this because again, it's not trying to be Gravity. It's not trying to be this lucid, fluid motion kind of drama. It's supposed to be something that sets you on edge, and it kind of reflects his personal life because we see early on he loses a daughter to cancer, and that was gutting completely because I did not know that happened. Was not aware of that, and then he and his wife celebrate later on the birth of two boys, and they will later, worry that their father won't return from his mission. And I mean, you're so right about Claire Foy, because this is I've seen people call this sort of the worried partner role, which it is generally speaking, but I think there's so much going on that's outside of just her worrying for her husband. She's also got to keep the family together when he's gone. She's got to keep the family together when he has come back from his various missions and seems to be slipping away from them. And the ultimate outcome is a lot bleaker than people might realize, because I don't know how, in like how public that story between them is. I certainly didn't know how it transpired at the end, and it's again, it's pretty gutting to watch it happen. And then you get into all of the stuff with the nuts and bolts of, this process of preparation, simulations, practice flights gone awry, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of study, months on end. And I think that it succeeds so well in putting us in Armstrong's headspace, even during that stuff, because I think one of the points that the movie's making is that Armstrong was kind of uniquely qualified to do this. He seemed to be able to retain more than a lot of other people. He seemed to be more skillful, for instance, at all of those flight simulations. You think of the thing with the where it turns around and at some point they might pass out. The big kind of turns them around in a circle, and he lasts longer, and he asks for more tries at it, and it's just really he was just an impressive candidate for this job. And so it takes us through that whole story, and it gives us a sense of Armstrong as an astronaut, as a father, because it affects everything at his in his life, and finally as a man, because the ultimate goal of this movie is to strip away the myth and the legacy of this person and find the person at the center of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very human story ultimately, even though it's also tackling something so universal as perhaps the greatest collective achievement that I think humanity has ever known, is to put man on the moon. I think that that's the greatest thing that we as humans have achieved in terms of just the innovative forward thinking it took to take that step. And, maybe I know that in the 2030s there's a planned manned mission to Mars, and that might surpass this, but it still maybe kind of won't, because these are the steps that would make a manned mission to Mars possible. So I feel like that first innovation is probably going to be the most notable one. And so you have this really broad, statement on just how much effort this took. Especially included in the archival footage we have of JFK, as he was saying, we don't do these things because they're easy, but because they're hard. It's all about doing it so that future generations can talk about it and can maybe learn from that and learn other ways of innovating in this way. And it's about making not just the country, but humanity greater. And that's why, there's so much, there's only so much of the flag in this. It's you can see it. It's not like in the forefront of the image. And I think that the reason is because it's a bit distanced in the fact that there is an American achievement here, but there's also just generally a global achievement. It was for everyone. We got to it first because that was our goal. And you're right, it's very patriotic in that stance, because you're right. I mean, it's all about beating Russia, which right now is very topical. But in the bigger picture, it was a win for humans, and that's what this movie is about. It's also doubly about examining Armstrong as a man in the face of all of this. And we get that in these quiet sequences of reflection where, whether it be his journey on the moon, or quiet moments where he wants everybody else to kind of shut up for a second, like on the spacecraft, and just looking out into space, you know, uh, not wanting anybody else to talk to him, or when he answers the phone and learns about the Apollo 1 accident, that stony resolve to get past this very quickly, even though he's clearly devastated. I mean, it's just he's a man of consummate professionalism, and through Gosling's performance, we get that, and it's such a great performance. Some of his best work, I think, for me is his best work maybe since Drive, and
I would agree.
yeah, and so it's a truly remarkable performance from him, and I think Foy is just as strong. We also get pretty solid work from Jason Clarke and Shea Wiggum. Corey Stoll's pretty good. He plays Buzz Aldrin. But really, it's all about Gosling and Claire Foy, and they both are just so good with each other, playing off of each other as a married couple, and also just separately, when they have their moments of solitude, and it's just a couple of great performances in a movie that is extremely intimate and is also very, very big, full of a brilliant soundscape, and the best soundscape this year, like not just the score, which is beautiful. And I actually noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but I had just recently rewatched La La Land on Blu-ray within the last couple months, and it's the same composer, it's Justin Hurwitz, and I think that he might have incorporated some some bars in his music that were originally in the La La Land score, because there are times where the City of Stars music, the notes of it, the beginning notes of it begin the notes of the music in this movie, and it's just very interesting. I don't know if you noticed that. I did multiple times, particularly when the moon landing occurs. As they're approaching, there's a specific moment like that. And it also reminded me in a certain way, because of how he composes it, that reminds me of the docking of the ship in 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a definite connection there too. So it's yeah, and then and then just the sound editing and mixing. I mean, if it doesn't at least, and I'm gonna get into this in a couple of weeks, but if it doesn't at least win sound editing, like, why is there even an Academy? I can't imagine anything beating this.
I think it's going to go down the same route as like Dunkirk, where it's going to get a lot of technical stuff, a lot of acting stuff. Like, it's going to be the full package.
Yeah,
type of deal.
It's well, Dunkirk didn't get any acting stuff, but
true,
it's
but they dominated like the sound and like the technical side.
Yeah, it should. I think that probably. I mean, I'll get into this more later, but I think it's probably going to lose sound mixing to A Star Is Born, just because that has musical stuff in it. But
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the sound editing though is phenomenal, particularly in the way that it so intentionally disorientates us, and part of that is with the film editing, which is probably also going to win, and it should. It's Tom Cross, he's great, and has he won twice in a row now? Yeah, he won.
Yes.
Yeah, because he definitely won La La Land. He won Whiplash. So, yeah, this should be his third nomination and win. Which, holy crap, I didn't even realize that until I just said it. That's pretty impressive.
He's going the way of Emmanuel Lubezki.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. All he needs to do now is make another movie next year, and then win for that one.
Right,
like,
just
literally twice in a row.
Hey, Mr. Cross, can you just like continue to like make like 2 or 3 movies a year? He's like, I'm just really tired. I've won so many awards. Like, no, I need you to win this.
No sleep for you. Yeah. Anyway, it's a great movie. It's a technological achievement. It's an intimate study of this man. It's just great all around. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with an A, strong A. It's probably my number 5 or 6. It's somewhere up there. I don't know where yet, um, but yeah, it's pretty great stuff. So an A for both of us. That totally means skip it. I'm just kidding. All right, folks. I'm going to be doing a quick review here because there's really not much I can talk about, nor do I want to particularly. But this is my surprise review, and it is for Bad Times at the El Royale. This is the new movie from director Drew Goddard of The Cabin in the Woods, and it tells the story of 7 strangers who meet up at the hotel of the title, which is quite literally on the California-Nevada border. The borderline actually runs through the hotel and splits it into 2 sides, each of which, interestingly enough, follows the rules of the state of that side. So, like on the California side, you can serve alcohol, and on the Nevada side, you cannot. The time period is 1969. War rages in Vietnam, and news of a nasty multiple homicide is playing on the news. All right, so there's not a whole lot I can talk about with the plot of this movie, unfortunately, but I can tell you that 5 of these characters can be talked about openly. First of all, there's John Hamm as Laramie Seymour Sullivan, who is a vacuum salesman. What a great name. There is Dakota Johnson as a mysterious woman named Emily. There is Louis Pullman as the hotel, like everything, essentially. He's the manager, he's the bellhop, he's the guy who cleans everything. He's there kind of managing for his bosses while it's a slow period. There's also Cynthia Erivo as Darlene Sweet, who is a professional backup singer, and Jeff Bridges as Father Daniel Flynn, a priest with a degenerative brain disease. They have all met, and they all have secrets except for Darlene, pretty much. And at this point, I can only really tell you a couple of other things, or at least I feel comfortable only telling you a couple of other things. One, the John Hamm character is not actually a vacuum salesman. His secret is that he is an FBI agent. And otherwise, I can say that characters played by Chris Hemsworth and Kaylee Spinney show up later on in the narrative, but I can't really tell you why. This is another one of those movies like The Cabin in the Woods that is very hard to talk about in terms of specifics of the plot, because a lot of this movie is about misdirection. This is a movie with characters who have a lot of secrets. Hamm's character eventually finds that the hotel has an observation room, sort of a tunnel really running behind the hotel rooms, and in fact the mirrors in each of the rooms is 2-way. Or no, is that 2-way? Pretty sure that's 2-way.
Yeah, two-way mirrors.
Yeah. So, but this is worrisome for him for specific reasons that I can't really talk about. All right, so I was excited for this. I love The Cabin in the Woods. I think it's one of the best films of 2012. It's a sort of a self-meta-referential explosion of a bunch of different genre ideas, all of which are saying something sneakily profound about the genre of horror in a way that really surprised me. It's another one of those that you just can't talk about it a lot if you haven't seen it. So all of you who haven't seen it, go watch The Cabin in the Woods. It's great. I just can't really tell you much about what it's about. But this one really underwhelmed me, like a whole lot. I felt here that instead of primarily being about misdirection, which is what The Cabin in the Woods partly was, instead of being primarily about it, I think that Bad Times at the El Royale is essentially only about misdirection, and that there are no levels underneath that misdirection. There's no real point that it's trying to make. and for that reason, it felt a bit empty to me. Um, Now, starting with, I guess I'll do the positives and negatives, honestly, because like what Chase used to do, because it's pretty much how I'm thinking here. I'm kind of going down the middle with my rating, so might as well split it into two. The positives are definitely the aesthetic. I think it looks very stylish. I'm not sure who this cinematographer is. I think it's probably Michael Bonvillain who um, shot. Well, I'm gonna see here before I say that, but let's see. Do 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 do. Oh no, it's Seamus McGarvey. Wow. Okay, Seamus McGarvey who shot the Avengers and stuff like We Need to Talk About Kevin, Godzilla. So good cinematographer, definitely on a roll here. There's a lot of great um, shot setups and it's executed really well. It has a very attractive sheen, and I like that. The two of the performances in particular really work, although they're all solid enough. I'll get into that later on, but two of the performances very much work for me, and those are the ones by Jeff Bridges and Cynthia Erivo, who both get moments where I feel like they're conveying more than a thinly veiled mystery. There's Erivo's character is an African American woman in the late '60s, which is a very obviously a very tumultuous time, and Bridges' character is slowly losing all of himself essentially as he slowly wastes away, and there's a lot of regret there, lots of things that he has to confront about himself, and that's really interesting. Unfortunately, I felt like everybody else was just kind of a cog in the machine, particularly when Chris Hemsworth shows up. The movie simplifies itself to be about a lot of carnage during a hostage situation, and that's pretty much all it kind of adds up to. Um, and yeah, it was a big letdown for me, and I think that the reason is because, again, I don't think this movie is saying anything. I think that it's doing a lot of things that people will find appealing. It has a lot of actors that are delivering sort of Tarantino-esque dialogue. It has a lot of Agatha Christie kind of vibes to it with these Seven Strangers, where something weird's going on, and we have to try to figure it out before they do, and all of that. And that's fine in theory, but I don't think it really pulls that off in execution. And it ultimately just reminded me of just an empty bag of tricks. It's got a lot of flash and good moments, certainly. I mean, it moves along nicely, but it also moves on way too long. I think that this movie could have had 20 minutes cut out of the middle and nothing would have happened to it. Too many perspectives. Basically, the routine here is that we follow a character for a little bit, something violent happens, then that thread ends, and it follows another character until something violent happens, and then that thread ends, and then it does that until kind of the whole movie takes on that formula where a bunch of stuff happens and then a bunch of violent stuff happens at the end, and I don't think it's really saying anything or making any sort of point. It just seems empty to me. So yeah, I have to be the bearer of bad news. I'm an outlier on this movie. It's fairly popular, at least in terms of how people feel about it. But for me, I'm giving Bad Times at the El Royale a C minus. I don't really like this movie. So let us know what you thought of both of these movies. Whether you also thought that First Man was one of the best films of the year, like we both do. Whether you think that Bad Times at the El Royale is a big letdown like I do, or if you're more in Chase's camp, which is that this was a lot of fun, because I know that he had a great time with this one. And I totally understand why. Like, this is one of those things where it's gonna have its fans. I'm gonna understand why it has fans, but I just didn't get it. So yeah, C minus for me. Chase, are you calling for my resignation in your head?
You know, it's one of those things to where I'll let it slide, because at least you and I both love Cabin in the Woods, and I will always cherish that movie. So as long as we're on the same page with that, then we're good.
Cool, cool. All right. It's Chase's favorite time of the week.
No, it's not.
Guessing the box office. You didn't look at the box office, right?
Okay, so I actually look because it's Joel knows this. It's really hard to like scrub through a timeline unless someone just blatantly just blurs it out. The only things I know, because people just love to spoil stuff, is I know who's number one, and I know how much First Man made, but I don't know where it's at.
Okay. So your hints, my good sir, are this week's wide releases, which are Bad Times at the El Royale, First Man, and Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. So what do you think are the top 5?
Okay, so my thought process is this. I don't think Bad Times even was in the top 5 at any period during the weekend. I know what number 1 is, so I'll go ahead and say it. Venom's going to do a repeat. And then, unfortunately for the new releases, I think another movie's going to stomp all of them out again. I think A Star is Born is going to repeat its second week in the same place. So, Venom, A Star is Born, and here's where it gets a little weird, because I know how much First Man made, but was it enough to get in there, like high up there? Because Goosebumps is a kids film, families. The first one was pretty well received and it did okay. So if I had to make a guess, oh man, you know what? No. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but I'll go Venom number 1, A Star is Born 2, Goosebumps 2 at 3. I think First Man's probably 4. And then 5. I don't know. Maybe I'll take it back. Maybe it did go in at number 5 with Bad Times. I probably got that wrong.
So you got 4 movies correct. But ultimately you only got 2 placements correct.
Dang, it's the top 2.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Alright, I'm just going to start with the top 5. I'll just say that. Okay. No, I'll say Bad Times at the El Royale missed the top 5, and it bombed. It opened at number 7 with 7.2 million.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and a worldwide debut of 11.3, and it's a $32 million movie. That's not good for Fox. I thought that it would be a bigger hit than that, but whatever. So, dropping from number 3 to number 5 is Smallfoot with 9.3 million.
That's right. I completely forgot about that one.
Oh no, trust me, so did I. So, yeah, it's literally, I reminded myself this morning that this movie came out, and I saw it and reviewed it on the show. So it's up to domestically 57.6 million and a worldwide total of 110.2. Again, it doesn't have a listed production budget, but I'm sure it's doing fine. Debuting at number 4 is Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween with 16.2 million for a domestic total. That's the domestic total, and a worldwide debut of 19.9. The good news is that this is actually a pretty okay debut for a movie like this, because it costs about 20 million less than the first movie, and it only costs $35 million. So it's going to do okay, I think. It's not like some great success, but I think that Sony is thankful that they have Venom out. Let's just say that. So then debuting at number 3 is First Man with 16.5. You knew that, and it also has a worldwide debut of 25.1. I think
Man,
that this is going to do...
That's like dangerously close to Goosebumps 2.
Yeah, it's not...
Man.
It's not a... It's kind of a brutal opening for this, because not only is it the weirdest release date that Universal has this month, it's also a $59 million movie. So I know that there's not such a huge worry for something like this to make its money back. There's not going to be a sequel, for instance. But they at least wanted to make this play like Gravity, and it didn't. It didn't even play like Captain Phillips. So which is very, kind of similar-ish movies, but um, yeah, it's not a great opening. However, yes, you did get the top two right. At number two, remaining there is A Star Is Born with 28 million. It only fell 34.7% this week. It has a total domestic gross of 94.2 and a worldwide gross of 135.4. And it's a $36 million movie. So it's already made back what it needed to, at least worldwide. And yes, number one, with 35.7 million, Venom, total domestic gross of 142.8. It's already nearly $150 million. And worldwide, it's at 378.1. So, and it's got $100 million budget. This thing is a huge hit. I think it's playing like Logan was. Honestly, that's if I remember correctly, that's about the drop that it made in the second week. So, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive week. So that's the top five. The Hate You Give rose 244.7% from number 13 to number 9 in its second weekend. Made a 1.8 million this week. It expands to even more theaters next week, so we'll see how that turns out. Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is sad news. The Sisters Brothers. Huge flop for the indie world. All right, so it has made, so far in 4 weekends, $1 million. It only made $258,000 this weekend, and that was a percentage raise of 26.9%. So not great news for Annapurna. Really sad, because it's a good movie. People need to see it. Otherwise, though, 2 big hits, Colette and The Old Man of the Gun, rose above 100% on both ends. But the big one is one of the biggest openers of the year in limited release, and that is Beautiful Boy, which saw its first release in 4 theaters. And in each of those theaters, Chase, it made $55,000.
Jeez.
Yeah, that is a $221,000 intake in 1 weekend, which is really good. So, yeah, very, very interesting. I am seeing that on the 26th when it opens here. So, yeah, let's see what else. That is pretty much it. There's no real big jumps or drops of note. So, all right.
Wait, Joel, what about that one? So dropping from number 10 to 21st?
Oh my gosh.
The Predator.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Oh my God.
This thing has only made $50 million domestically and $125 worldwide, and it's an $88 million movie.
Oh,
this thing
flopping.
It's a flop. This is gonna lose money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. I think that this one loses money.
Disney is going to acquire the loss on this movie.
Yes. Yeah. Luckily, when they incorporate the Predator into the MCU, I'm just kidding.
I think they'll actually have a jump in its franchise at that point.
Yeah, probably so. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. That leads us into next week. Actually, it doesn't lead us into next week. Chase, tell us why.
Okay, so as you guys know, I just love screwing up the schedule and making Joel's hair catch on fire. And so next week, there is no episode. I know, kind of weird. But then again, I told you guys like a while back, this is going to happen throughout the month. I have a lot of stuff going on, of course, with the move and everything. But I actually think it makes more sense to do it this way. And so it actually works out. We cannot record next weekend because of stuff. But Halloween, the new Halloween film, one of my most anticipated films of the year, comes out next weekend. And so this is the first time in this show's history where it gives you guys an opportunity to watch the movie a week during the week, so you can hear us discuss it and you can kind of play along with us. So for the episode on the 26th, the 28th. The 28th will be the Halloween episode, and we are going to
two ways.
Exactly, in two ways. We're going to be reviewing the new Halloween film, and it's 3 days before the actual holiday. And I'm thinking, I haven't discussed this with Joel yet, but I'm thinking that maybe, since we're skipping a week, we can make this one a tad longer, and maybe Joel and I can tell you guys some of our favorite horror films of all time or something. We don't have to go into like depth, but just kind of go back and forth and kind of pick Joel's brain a little bit and see what he likes in this genre. So who knows? We'll make it a lot of fun, but that is what's going to happen. So no episode for next week. So we're going to push the Halloween episode into the 28th, where we're going to review Halloween. So it gives you a full week to catch up on it, so you can listen to it later. And of course, we'll do some other stuff with that episode. But then after that, rest assure you, we'll go back to our normal schedule. So this is the last hiccup that we're going to have this month. But I just want to let you guys know that's what's going to happen. You'll get a week off next week. I know it sucks for people that like listening every week. I apologize, but hey, life happens. But that is what's going on over the next 2 weeks. Joseph?
All right. Yeah, things really, even just for you, should go back to relative quietude after the end of the month.
Well, like when
I'm
we
excited
record,
for that for you.
Yeah, when we record the Halloween episode, I think my life will finally go back to normal because I'm moving at a very fast rate when it comes into moving and stuff, and so I think by that point I will be like 95% done.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. So you can find me on Twitter at RealJoelCopling and on Letterboxd as jcopling. You can also find my writing at joelonfilm.com. In addition to Bad Times of the El Royale and First Man, I also reviewed 2 Netflix movies. Well, really, I reviewed 4 Netflix movies, but 2 of them have theatrical distribution, and those are Private Life and 22 July, 2 more of the best movies of the year. And then 2 movies that don't have theatrical distribution, the very, very, very bleak, grim Apostle, and also Napoli Ever After, which has been on there a few weeks. But both of those are quite good. So literally the only movie I didn't like this week on my site was Bad Times of the El Royale. So anyway, you can find all those reviews there.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at RealChaseley. Subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll get up-to-dates on when I do stuff that I don't review on the show, like my Bad Times at the El Royale is up there. I'm going to have an HBO documentary here in a couple weeks that I watched. Joel doesn't know this. I'm going to make him mad in 3, 2, 1. I got the screener for Wildlife, so I'll be watching that here pretty shortly. So
how dare you, sir?
Joel, sometimes it just happens, and that's all I gotta say. So
you are fired. I'm just kidding.
Exactly right. No, honestly, I couldn't really accept many. I had to turn down 3 movies. I this month just really quickly. I know people throw the pity party for me, but I had to turn down The Beautiful Boy, Suspiria, and mid-90s screenings because I am gonna be busy this month. So the only ones I accepted were 2 screeners online, and then Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's only because Joel and I are going to be doing that for the show for you guys on that weekend. So that's literally the only movies I accepted were Wildlife, the HBO documentary, and Bohemian Rhapsody. So, and of course First Man. But I had to slow down. So I'm gonna be like 3 or 4 movies behind. So Joel, you're still in the lead. So you can still brag. So. Find all my other extra reviews on my YouTube channel. And for this show, guys, if you're listening on CastBox or iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. Well, actually, we're not on SoundCloud anymore. YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever. Like, just, follow, share, and just let people know this is your favorite movie podcast to listen to, because we love doing it for you guys, and you guys are always awesome. So, you know what? That is Joel over there. I'm Chase, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks from this point on October 28th, spooky, to review the 2018 version of Halloween and maybe do some extra stuff for you guys since we'll be gone for a while. So that will be episode 251. That is it for Real Me and Colton, a movie podcast. Just keep it chill, guys. Keep it awesome. And we're getting close to Halloween. Please stay safe. And, you know, if you're going to some Halloween parties, don't party too crazy. So we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.